Namaste, my friend. Welcome to Bhakti Yoga Conference, Grace in an Age of Distraction. My name is Happy Jack, the founder of Happy Jack Yoga and a Master Divinity student here at Harvard. And this is our beautiful journey for the past 6 weeks. If you can believe it, this is one of the final events of the virtual series. We got our grand finale next week. And it's really our opportunity to bring in people who are living, practicing, sharing Bhakti Yoga in different contexts. We have monks, scholars, musicians, yogis, thought leaders, scientists, people from all walks of life. And actually today we have an entrepreneur, very successful, who's done such a beautiful impact in the world, and an important question, an important conversation. I will say, really the intention is to inspire us, to share ideas and just perspectives of how we can move forward on our spiritual path. At the moment, well over 4,200 of you have registered. So grateful to be on this journey with you, and thanks who are here with us live. We will have time for Q&A at the end, so be ready. There's definitely some wisdom to be extracted from today's guest. And I'm going to bring our guest onto the stage. Please welcome to the screen, Avelo Roy. Beautiful to have you here with us. Avelo is a serial entrepreneur, having built 8 businesses in the US with multi-million dollars worth of products and services, ranging from consumer electronics, artificial intelligence systems, healthcare process automation, food science, wireless communications, wearable technology, and graphical password applications. Currently, Avelo runs the largest startup incubator in East India called Kolkata Ventures, with 550 plus revenue-generating startups. He's been listed as 40 must-follow people in Indian startup ecosystem by BizTour. Avelo's spiritual foundation plays a key role in his life choices, and he embeds the timeless teachings of Bhagavad Gita in his business decision-making and mentorship that he has provided to more than 1,800 young men and women in the US and in India. Prabhu, it's such an honor to have you here with us. I just have to say, you're one of very few speakers who I didn't cross path with in advance. We're actually just meeting now, but you came so highly recommended. We had to extend an invitation, and I feel like it's such an important topic. So the title of this session is Dovetailing Wealth and Spirituality. And it's almost like we were saying just before we went live, like sometimes in some spiritual circles, it almost can be like a taboo topic. We should be focused on our sadhana and our spiritual practice and connecting to divinity, which is beautiful and paramount. And at the same time, when we're able to grow and to impact and have resources to make a difference in service of divinity, well, that's a beautiful service as well. So we're very eager to learn from you. My friends, if you are ready to get started with Avelo Roy, please throw your arms in the air and loudly chant, Haribol. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's an absolute honor and privilege to be speaking to you. I'll just quickly share my screen and make sure that it's all visible.
Actually, just before if we just pull that down just for a sec, if just before we jump the presentation, what we would love to do, Prabhu, if we can ask you, just so we love getting to know our speakers, just before we jump into the wisdom, could you share with us, what is it that brought you to spirituality? What brought you to Bhakti Yoga? Because we're gonna get to know you, and maybe we've seen your websites, and it's extraordinary, the impact that you're having. But going back to the early days, how did you end up on this path?
I remember being a 5-year-old sitting in my room and looking at the chairs, tables, windows, and doors and thinking, these would be there, and one day I won't be there. The moment that comes, how can it be I cease to exist, although these inanimate objects will be there? And there has to be more than just life and death. There has to be more than that. And that's where my spiritual journey started. And I started meeting a lot of saintly people, reading a lot of books. And finally, when I came to Chicago to attend college, that's when I came in contact with the Bhagavad Gita teachings from my mentor. And there it was all the questions I was asking all my life were beautifully answered logically, intellectually, and I could actually apply it in my life. And it so happened that my second year in college, my parents got separated, and I was in a tremendous financial crisis where I had to pay my own tuition. And you can imagine, US education is expensive, especially for somebody coming from India, $44,000 per year just for the tuition and stay and board. Everything had to be covered. And I was a 18-year-old kid. And that was the moment when Bhagavad Gita came in, and I was in this very difficult stage of life, certain times contemplating even ending my life. And the strength of the teachings of Bhakti empowered me to understand that I'm not alone. I have somebody, above me. I have a father, Krishna, and his resources, his intelligence, all of that is inheritance to me. And once I understood that, I was able to harness that mercy and go forward. And I promised myself that if I get through this, because I was building my startup, I was in debt, I was going through my parents' separation, and it was a turmoil, a chaos. It was difficult. But I promised myself, if I get through this situation successfully, I will dedicate my life to helping my next generation go through difficult situations by spreading the Bhagavad Gita knowledge. And as I have been doing business since the age of 19, I have been also teaching Bhagavad Gita uh, all over the world. And it's been an absolute privilege to help a lot of people who are in my stage that I was in that time, and get them out of that and make them successful using the Bhakti principles. It's quite
Wow.
fulfilling. And there has been even suicide cases where I shouldn't be the one talking to them, but it so happened their last call was to me. And by God's grace, each one of those calls successfully help them get back on the path of being a productive citizen rather than ending their life. And so it's absolutely stunning to me every single day how bhakti is practical, uplifting, and an absolute fuel to all our lives to thrive and succeed.
Wow, so beautiful. Such a powerful story. And the compassion that you cultivate, the questions that you asked at such a young age, and then the compassion that you developed, and now to be able to hold space and help others as they navigate their path. Super inspiring. I feel like I want to ask so many more questions and get to know you, but we'll share links at the end so people can follow you and stay in touch with you. Because I feel like you've got a really, really important message today, a really important conversation and topic. So thank you so much for sharing, Prabhu. We're sending our love and gratitude to you over in Hyderabad, India. And you may have noticed I turned off videos just to help with the connection, just because it's a little bit, but now it seems solid. So
Mhm.
let's jump to your presentation.
Sounds good, Prabhuji. I'll do that. Is my screen visible?
It's coming up right now. Yes, it's good.
Awesome. All right. So as Jack Prabhu mentioned, my journey started while I was studying at Illinois of Technology. And at the very young age of 19, I started the journey and have been a CEO ever since, running businesses, and used my 4 years in college to turn from an engineer to an entrepreneur. And same time, as I was starting my entrepreneurial journey, Bhagavad Gita came to my life, spirituality came to my life, and I have been living a wonderful combination of being at least trying to be a bhakti yogi and an entrepreneur, using the principles of both in my life. So today I'm going to pretty much share with you, how wealth and spirituality works in my life, and how I learn from business and apply that in spirituality, and I learn from spirituality and apply those principles to grow in business. This is some of my work that I was doing in the US with a lot of education practices, meditation workshops, drama, talks, dinners, cultivating the knowledge of bhakti amongst young college students. So while I was building my businesses in US, Canada, Hong Kong, and China, I was also sharing, and I continue to do that till today. Honored by the California State Senate, given 4 TED Talks, and then eventually came back to India and started our Kolkata Ventures, which helps entrepreneurs, startups grow from zero to build their dream and make it a successful company. This is the equivalent of the White House in India, Rashtrapati Bhavan, where I was invited to mentor startups. I was advisor to the Prime Minister of Nepal, where we built the startup ecosystem there. I'm on the board of trustees for Alfred Ford School of Management in Belgium, and I'm a guest faculty at multiple US colleges and Indian institutions. So I'm bragging a little bit, just to make sure, we understand what's the purpose behind all this and how we dovetail a little bit of success that is there. Well, our previous teachers have predicted that it's our duty to share the treasure of bhakti to every town and village, so people at least have access to the rich culture, the rich tradition, the rich heritage, the lifestyle of bhakti. Now, to make that happen, resources are required. Money is definitely a requirement. But it is also true that, as very rightly spoken by our host, that sometimes it's a taboo when you're a spiritualist, when you are a yogi, to talk about money is like almost like, oh, you're a materialistic person. But guess what? Lakshmi Devi is the wife of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So money and God go hand in hand. Money and spirituality go hand in hand. One of our teachers, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, gave us these 4 principles. Books are the basis. Purity is the force. Preaching is the essence. Utility is the principle. So books, we clearly need the Bhakti literatures to learn the philosophy, to learn the techniques of how to cultivate, how to bring out that love for God that's hidden within our hearts. Purity is a force. Unless we are pure in intention and purpose, we will not be able to actually benefit people. So it's important that we have pure intentions and pure purpose. That means, I'll say it in Sanskrit and then I'll say it in English. Na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim kavitam va jagadisha kamaya, which means, not seeking wealth, name, fame, followers, but just simply wanting to unconditionally give, and give. That's purity. So it's now when a topic is wealth and spirituality, how can we not seek wealth? Well, not seek wealth from spiritual education, but seek wealth for sustenance, for financial freedom, and everything else. But there are people who are spiritual gurus and who make money from spirituality, and that's the reason why they do spirituality. Well, that's not the reason for spirituality. So purity means for doing it for the right purpose, the right intent. Preaching is the essence. So essence of bhakti lifestyle is sharing our good fortune with others, to sharing what we know, the answers that we have received to our doubts, with those who are struggling with their doubts, those who are struggling to know, to find out what is life about, what is karma, what is the goal of life, who's God, who am I, etc. And utility is the principle. Without application, it is just theory. So when we put bhakti into practice, that's when we get that aha moment. Aha, this is how it works. This is the best process of spirituality, right? And Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, text 47, that according to my opinion, Bhakti Yoga is the best possible yoga, right? So utility is a principle. When we apply it, that's when we know, aha, this is the easiest and the best possible process of God realization. Now, in that utility principle, it is important that we have money. Now I'll talk about another great Vaishnava saint, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. The place that you see here has been restored after 100 years, but almost 120, 140 years ago, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur rented this place to propagate the knowledge of bhakti in Kolkata or Calcutta. At that time, he was paying a rent of 50 rupees. Just to give an understanding how much 50 rupees was worth at that time, 10 grams of gold at that time was 18 rupees, 1/8. So he was paying rent that is almost equivalent to more than 25 grams of gold. Why? Because it was a prominent location, it was a beautiful place, and that's what is required to attract the right people to come, to have the right facilities so that the knowledge propagation can be facilitated. So money is a requirement in whatever we do, whether we want to build a temple, whether we want to build a college, a hospital, a restaurant, we need money. There's nothing wrong with being wealthy. Srila Prabhupada, when he came, he's the founder of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. When he came to the West in America, he had no money, absolutely no money. They say he started with 40 rupees. He actually had no money. He gave the last penny to his son when he was getting on the ship, Jaladuta, to come to America. Just with faith in his heart and books in his hand, Srila Prabhupada came to America with the pure intention of sharing the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita so that people who are suffering can get some solace, can find a path. And when you have clarity, you have happiness. At least the beginning of happiness begins with clarity. So the knowledge of bhakti gives us clarity. So Srila Prabhupada gave that to the hippies. And as the hippies, started becoming happies, right? From transitioning from drug usage, from being, in a different environment to being Krishna conscious, to being devotee, they needed resources to grow the movement. And Srila Prabhupada actually inspired them to start businesses. They were selling incense. They were selling Back to Godhead magazines. They were selling so many different things and requesting for donation so that temples can be built, books can be printed, free food can be distributed amongst anyone who comes, right? These things require money. And you can see here, Srila Prabhupada, purple, actually in this photo shoot, he said, put a nice velvet background because we want to represent class. We want to represent Polish, organization. Although it was very new, ISKCON was very, very new at that time. Now, money is not necessarily bad, but the intent is what makes it evil sometimes. So we see on the left-hand side, Ravana abducting Sita. Now, those of you who don't know about Ramayana, let's just put it this way. Ravana was an evil king who heard about the beauty of somebody's wife, that somebody happened to be Lord Ram, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So as Ravana heard about the beautiful Sita, he decided she must be for my enjoyment. He went there, very deceitfully, grabbed her and brought her to his kingdom. Long story short, Lord Ramachandra, who was at that time in exile in forest, all he had was an army of monkeys. And this army of monkeys, led by Hanuman, did quite the opposite. Brought back Sita Devi from the clutches of Ravana to the arms of Lord Ramachandra. That's what devotees do. That's what Bhakti yogis do. Money is not ours. It's God's property. Everything is God's property. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Aham sarvasya prabhaho. Everything comes from me. And thus, everything should be used in purpose that is God conscious. So the Ravan mentality is everything is for me, for my enjoyment. And that's where the evil aspect of utilizing money comes in. And it's not just money, it's internet, it's any resource, whether it's fuel, whether it's fire, whether it's internet, whether it's money, it can be used for the good or for the bad. The mentality that we have, that's what decides how we use it. So the Ravan mentality is I and mine. The Hanuman mentality is everything is the Lord's and everything should be used in purpose, in the intent should be for service of the Lord. And that's where wealth and spirituality comes in. Being wealthy gives us resources, the freedom to serve with more abundance. The purpose of Krishna consciousness. And what is the purpose of the Supreme Lord? Paritrana sadhunam vinashacha dushkritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavam yuge yuge. Krishna says, I come in yugas and after yugas. In every time I keep coming in my different avatars. Establish dharma, to annihilate the miscreants, and to uplift my devotees. That's the purpose. To uplift the devotees, to establish dharma, and to protect the devotees from the attack of those who are not necessarily in the bhakti mindset, or who might be opposed to the bhakti mindset, or who might be opposed to the idea of God consciousness. To protect devotees, to sustain religiosity, to sustain righteousness, resources are required. And when it is used in that purpose, that's when things flow in the right direction. And the same money that can be used for evil purposes can also be used for good purposes. The same money that destroys people's consciousness can also uplift people from poverty, from bad health, from difficulties. Now, let's talk about the negative aspect a bit more. Just like fire, a child who doesn't know how to handle fire might put his or her finger in the fire and get burnt. Somebody who knows how to use fire can cook delicious meals for the whole family. Same way, money, when one doesn't know how to utilize it, can destroy them. It has happened many times. People win the lottery. It's a very known factor that those who win lottery, who tend to be from poorer backgrounds, generally they end up being more miserable with money than they were before having the money, because they don't know how to handle it, right? They don't know how to utilize it properly. And that's where education is required. So coming to bhakti, my realization has been that it's Krishna first helps us deserve it, then he fulfills our desire, right? If we are not ready for it, give it to us instantly. He'll prepare us, train us, give us the right qualities, the control of senses, and then give us the money to handle, just like we would not give fire to a child because the child would not know how to handle it. But when we train the child, the same child can handle fire, can do wonderful things with fire, right? That's the idea here. Now, this picture is significant because the bhakti community grows when you grow. It's important to understand that our growth is directly connected to the community we belong to. And how do we grow wealth? Wealth is just one resource. Somebody can have other resources. Wealth can mean many different means. But for now, I'll just talk about wealth as financial means. Well, the best way to grow our wealth is through entrepreneurship. And I'm a little biased because I'm an entrepreneur myself and I'm a venture capitalist. So this is something that was given to me when I was doing something for President Obama. He came into power in 2008 and he established Startup America when there was 10% unemployment rate and the everything had crashed. So he was creating job creators, right? And he wanted people like myself to go to schools and colleges and inspire them to be entrepreneurs. So it was a high school where I went and they gave me this plaque that says, Can't spell entrepreneur? Be one and hire someone who can, right? And that's really pulls in the essence of entrepreneurship very beautifully. You don't have to be a genius. You don't have to know everything. You can just be a leader who knows how to get people to go in a certain direction, right? That's entrepreneurship. And your business starts with you. I'm going to go a little bit into how to develop uh, or using some bhakti principles of developing your business starting from zero, right? So first thing is we analyze ourselves. Who are we? Now, from a bhakti perspective, we are spirit soul. But then in this particular body, we have something called the psychophysical nature that Krishna speaks in the Bhagavad Gita in great details. There are different kinds of people, and what is loosely called the caste system is actually not by birth, it is by nature. Some people are by nature more leader. Some people are by nature more a teacher. Some people by nature are more who likes to work with their two hands and two legs out in the sun, right? So different people are different. So identifying our psychophysical nature by introspection and by taking help from a guru, somebody who knows us, a guru or a mentor or a parent or a grandparent. Who am I? And once we know that, how am I skilled? The right brain and the left brain. The right brain is more creative, the left brain is more analytical. Am I more analytical? Am I more creative? Am I both? And based on that, figuring out what does the future look like? With this gift that I have, what can I build? Well, to understand the future, it's important to look at the past and to analyze the past. So we'll look at our history, we'll look at patents, we'll look at trends, the Google trends with all the artificial intelligence will tell you, what people are searching and what does that mean for the economy and what will people search tomorrow. So there are ways of predicting the future. You observe, you analyze, you predict, and based on your prediction, you figure out a future problem that's worth solving. The Vedic definition of a problem is something that no one wants, but everyone has to face and no one can avoid it. Death, old age, disease. These are some examples that no one wants it, no one can avoid it, and everyone has to face it, right? But if you solve any of one of these problems, you can make a lot of money as a byproduct. That's where it all begins. So we analyze ourselves, our skills, our passion. How are we built? Apple was built by two guys, not one guy. Although we know Steve Jobs very well, very few people talk about Steve Wozniak. But both were required to build Apple. Steve Wozniak is the introvert who likes to be in his cubicle building stuff. And Steve Jobs is the guy who goes out there on stage and sells his products and services. So one could be a Steve Wozniak, one could be a Steve Jobs. But it's important to know who you are. So write down your skills, write down your passion, and then your skills will tell you what kind of product or service you can build. Your passion will tell you what market to go after, what problem to solve in that market. And when we combine the two, you have the business model or the formula for making money. What you sell, how you acquire your customer, how you make money, how you make a profit, right? The business model. Now, I'm not getting the details of it. We will stick to the topic of dovetailing spirituality and wealth, but I just wanted to hint a little bit on how to think about starting a business if you are in that domain. And I'll quickly show you how this all relates to bhakti. So the mindset shift that happens is from making people want things to making things people want. Today, if you want to build a business, you first have to do market research and figure out what is it that people are willing to pay for? What is their pain point? What are some things that they're willing to pay to solve? Is it a nice to have or a need to have? And based on that, we think about innovation. How can I do it differently? And when we are innovating, we think in terms of people's desirability. What do people want? Business viability. Do I have the resources for it, or will I need millions and millions of dollars to raise to make this happen? And lastly, technical feasibility. Can, am I thinking about zebras flying, or am I thinking of making something that already exists a little bit more efficient, a little cheaper, a little faster, a little better? If these things culminate into my innovation, I have a likelihood of success. Now, this is business learning. These same principles apply to the sharing of bhakti. I have been teaching Bhagavad Gita, other literatures for the last 19 years. And I can tell you one thing. I have always learned from business what works, how to think, how to market, and apply that to bhakti. I'll give a simple example. When I was in college and we were doing a lot of seminars on bhakti topics, we would be printing flyers, colored flyers, and posting it all over campus. Facebook turned on monetization, advertising. For the first time, I paid $5 and I spent on Facebook ads. And I tell you, our classroom was filled with people, $5, right? Whereas for the flyers, it was far more expensive. But with the Facebook ad, I was like, aha, this is how it works. So we got into that. We learned how to use our website as a funnel to bring in the right seekers of truth and knowledge to Krishna consciousness, to bhakti. And as I'm learning things I'm doing in my business, I'm applying those learnings to bhakti principles, to sharing the knowledge of bhakti. And then I'm learning things from bhakti, how to control my mind, how to control my anger, how to understand different kinds of people, what motivates them. Somebody's motivated by fear, somebody's motivated by money, somebody's motivated by love, somebody's motivated by a sense of belonging. Being an entrepreneur, being a CEO, having a team, knowing how to deal with different kinds of people, from bhakti to business, from business to bhakti. So learnings going both ways. And then this is the beautiful part of bhakti. This is the dovetailing part. One might think when I go to the church or temple, that's where uh, I am in a devotional setting. But bhakti is different. Bhakti is a consciousness. We can be in a casino, we can be in a bar, we can be in a restaurant, we can be on a mountaintop, we can be in a temple, we can be in a bathroom. The consciousness actually decides where we are in our heart of hearts. So bhakti is applicable everywhere. It's not limited to temples, churches, or mosques or synagogues. It is who you are, how you carry love for God in your heart. Now, when you understand that deeply, what happens is you start seeing people as temples of God, because Paramatma, or super soul, is within. God is in everyone's heart. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Riddesha Arjuna Tishtiti. I'm sitting in the heart region and inspiring and guiding all living entities. Now, we sometimes can't hear the guidance because of the cacophony of the mind, but the Lord is sitting here. Now, when you understand that, and you see the world through the lenses of Bhagavad Gita, guess what? Every human, every animal, every insect, every bird, every tree becomes an object of worship, because there is super soul within. There is Krishna within. And when you see all living entities as a part and parcel of God who has God within, it's like Intel inside we see in the computers, right? We know it's a good computer, Intel inside, God inside. How can you treat people disrespectfully? How can you exploit people? How can you exploit animals, plants, nature? Where do you see God within? So to see the world through the vision of Bhagavad Gita, whether you're a CEO or a teacher or a yoga teacher or a parent, whoever you are, life transforms completely. And that's the magic of bhakti. Here's how it works in my world. As a business person, as a CEO, you're supposed to be cutthroat and, assertive and boisterous and everything else. And here comes Avelo Roy, who says, "How may I serve you?" People always get a shock, like, why would you serve me? Like, who talks like that? But that's the bhakti training I have. The mood is, I am here to serve you. Even if I'm your boss, I'm here to help you do your work better by guiding you, by training you, by giving you clear directions. If I'm a parent, I'm here to make your growing up a little easier, a little more happy. If I am a husband or a lover, I'm here. So the mood is always of that of service. I'm here to serve. I'm not here to dominate or exploit. And once this principle becomes a part of our being, people naturally want to love you, want to work with you. You naturally command respect and loyalty from those around you because these are qualities of Krishna. And Krishna's name means all attractive. So Krishna is all attractive. His qualities are all attractive. When we imbibe these qualities of gratitude, respect, humility, kindness, people around us want to work with us, want our association, want to live a life that is bhaktimaya, or the theme of that life is bhakti. Then they ask you, what's your secret? How are you like this? And then we say, our secret is the Bhagavad Gita. Our secret is the bhakti principles given by Krishna. And that's what makes us. Now, as an entrepreneur, in all professions, we need to be liked by people, to have certain level of reputation. But in business especially, people is everything. The team, people. Advisors, people. Lawyers, accountants, they're people. Investors, people. Customers, people. You're surrounded by people. You're constantly managing people. And it's important that we ourselves become Vaishnavas, ourselves imbibe the bhakti qualities. And when we imbibe those qualities, we can use those qualities in service to others. And naturally, it brings forth attraction from other people to work with us, to love us, to be our friends. And when they love us, when they associate with us, what happens? Bhakti rubs off on them. Bhakti comes from bhakta. So those who carry bhakti in their heart, they are the ones, they are the carriers of bhakti, and they share it with others. And it never gets less. The more you share, the more intense the bhakti gets within us. So, business, being an entrepreneur, being a leader, being a CEO, it is a great opportunity to propagate the bhakti movement. Because Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Yad yad acharati shrestha tat tat evataro janaha. So those are the shreshtas, or the leaders. Whatever they do, common men follow. So when you become a leader and you're Krishna conscious, you're God conscious, you're a bhakti, you're a bhakta, others also follow that. You see, George Harrison was one such great bhakta. Seeing the Beatles, seeing George Harrison, so many people became devotees of Krishna. So many people got to know about bhakti movement, right? So if one man who is a great leader can attract so many people, imagine a movement of leaders, what we can do, right? And we have tremendous people like Jay Shetty, Gauragopal Prabhu, Gauraga Prabhu, many speakers that are part of this program are leaders themselves who have thousands and thousands of millions of followers. And we need more in whatever means those are. Not everybody has to be wealthy. Wealth and spirituality is today's topic, but wealth, somebody has a knowledge that is their wealth. Somebody has money, that's their wealth. Somebody has kindness, that's their wealth. Wealth can come in many, many forms. Wealth has many names. But what's important is having the combination of bhakti and our wealth, and apply that. Utility is a principle. Apply that on a day-to-day basis and make our lives and others' lives better. There's a quote from Warren Buffett. If you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you'll work till you die. Right? This is a fact of life. And being an entrepreneur, I can tell you what he's referring to is systems and processes. When you have systems and processes in place, Then money making becomes an automated product, automated process. And once you're able to automate a lot of that, you're not required to work as much in the money making process. And that time can be devoted to bhakti propagation. Like I said, preaching is the essence, outreach is our essence. So, how do we get time and manage our families? Well, in the process of building a business, the initial years are very difficult, more difficult than one would have in a job situation. But as you get through and you have the systems and processes and you scale up and things are moving and you have a management team in place, then if you're a good manager, you'll be able to delegate a lot of your work. And all you do is strategize, look at the data, look at the dashboards, and move and grow the business. And as you do that, it's more mental work. And you have time that opens up for you to directly impact other people's lives, make them fortunate through the bhakti process. And that's why I chose this topic of wealth and spirituality, because I see our devotees struggling with financials, so much so that they can hardly sustain their own spiritual practices on a daily basis. What to speak of helping others to grow in their spiritual life? But if we are able to get our finances in order and we have a system, we don't have to be trillionaires, we don't have to be billionaires, but if we have financial freedom, we have an easier way of making money that doesn't take away all our time, all our waking hours, then we have some time left to spend with our family, to spend with God, and to spend with our community where we can give back. That's what financial freedom means. So when we are in the process of struggling to set up a business, see it as a bhakti process. It's not different than worshiping on the altar or chanting Hare Krishna or studying the scriptures. Because the purpose is, at least the purpose should be, that I'm building this business, that it can create wealth and it can open up my time where I and my family can be sustained. I can give in charity and I can help those who are struggling. I can propagate the bhakti movement. That is the goal. I'll tell you, in my personal short journey that I've had in the last 20 years, in my 20s, especially when I was learning Krishna consciousness, building my business, scaling things up, there'd be always a shortage of drivers for Prabhupada's disciples. So for in our temple, guests would come, and we don't have too much money, we don't have too many resources, so it's the congregation who go to pick up the guests, drop off the guests, and it would be always me and my business partner who'd be available during the weekdays. Why? Because we have the freedom, we are our own bosses, we have the freedom to take off a Wednesday, do some service, and make up for that on a Sunday, right? And that's what business gives us. It gives us flexibility and freedom, not just financial freedom, but also freedom in terms of time. We get to decide what we want to do, where we want to prioritize. If we want to do something, we don't have to take somebody else's permission. And that's very powerful. I'm grateful that I had the privilege of driving so many wonderful, saintly people. And in that drive, hearing from them, their wisdom, their learning, honestly, that's a lot of the inspiration that has made me who I am, that has helped me understand God and develop my bond with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the power. This is the freedom that we need. If we remain in a situation where we're struggling every day, it is hard. In the Maslow's hierarchy, we're at the bottom of the Maslow's hierarchy. For self-actualization, we need to come up a little bit higher. And that's where it's important to pursue a career where we have some level of financial freedom and it's not turning away from God. It is for the purpose of serving God. Once we understand that, everything falls in place beautifully and you get empowered. That's the best part. You experience God, God's love every single day, because an entrepreneur's life is difficult. Every single day is a new problem. It's a new situation, a new thing that goes wrong. And you call out, you surrender, my dear Krishna, please help, right? And that's what we live for, and that's what makes us, uh, you know, put our learnings into practice. Now, setting a goal. It's always important for business. Same with our bhakti. Our goal is go back to God. In business, we know we have to make a certain amount of revenue. You break down that goal, it becomes a lot more digestible. You break it down further. And that's why every day we chant Hare Krishna. Every day we do our worship, we do our meditation, we do our learning of scriptures. Every day we're moving towards that goal. Same principle applies to business. Every day we're moving towards our goal of revenue, annual returns, and whatnot. Now, one might say, I don't have money to start. Well, money has many names. It's not just cash, it's not just credit, it's relationships that can open up doors for you. I remember when we were building our first business, one of our mentors happened to be Harper Reid, who was President Obama's chief technology for the Obama campaign. So I told Harper, hey, Harper, we're trying to get these servers, but they're very expensive. We can't afford them. Is there something you can help us with? He said, oh, yeah, I'll call up the owner of the company. He called up the founder. He said, hey, buddy, there are these two entrepreneurs who want to use your servers. Can you just make it free for 6 months and then they'll start paying? And instantly that happened. And the 6 months free, we would have to pay, but we now don't have to pay. But the connection that Harper made, that relationship, the currency of relationship, allowed for that to happen. Is that equivalent to money? Absolutely. So not always do we have access to capital, access to money, but we have access to people, we have access to kindness, we have access to relationships and trust that we can leverage to get what we want. And that's an important principle to learn, right? The barter system. That used to be the Vedic system of doing business, bartering milk for wheat, bartering bananas for oranges, right? You have this, I have that. I'll give you this and you give me that. And later on, money came into existence. But bartering was a thing that Vaishyas or the business class would do in Vedic civilization. I'm seeing there's a lot of things that have popped up in the chat. I'll quickly finish so there's enough time for Q&A. Sell the vision to recruit a high-performing team. In a business, the team matters, right? Now, as an entrepreneur, what you do, you show them the dream that they can't see. You show the diamond within the coal. That's exactly what we do in the cultivation of bhakti. We show people the invisible God that is behind creation. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Sutre Manigana eva, that I am the thread on which the pearls are strung in the pearl necklace. Sutre Manigana eva. But people can see the pearls, they can see the nice necklace, they can't see me. So when you are a propagator of bhakti, those qualities really help you and become a wonderful entrepreneur where you can show people what they can't see to help them see the unseen and come and join your dream, join your business. It takes time. It takes enthusiasm, patience, and determination. Guess where I got that from? Another Bhakti literature called Upadeshamrita. It's important because in business, you fail, 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 and then you succeed, right? It's a lot of failures, a lot of difficulties. And through those failures, as a leader, people will follow what you do. So as a leader, you got to be enthusiastic, yet patient that, yes, I have to keep going. Success will come. Determined every day I wake up and I do my duties. Same with bhakti. It's difficult. It's almost seems impossible to control the mind and senses, to do our activities, our bhakti activities, but we keep doing it with full enthusiasm, with determination and patience that, yes, I'll see the results. And then we see the results. And then we share the results with others, right? Many people are not successful because they fail to fail enough times to let fear hold them back. Failing is an important part of success. It's a crucial part of success. But it's important that we go through those with determination, enthusiasm, and patience so that we can actually reach success. And in this process of failures and failures and failures, business teaches to be in Draupadi mode, in the mode of surrender, right? This is a lady who was disrobed by vicious people. And she tried to protect herself, her dignity, but eventually she just surrendered to Krishna. That Krishna, I have no strength to keep up with this vicious men. You kindly help me. And Krishna instantly sent yards and yards of sari so she could protect her dignity. So sometimes as entrepreneurs, not sometimes, a lot of times, we are in the Draupadi mode where Krishna, please help. I don't know what's going to happen. Today only, as I'm uh, going to give this lecture, the internet in the hotel I'm in right now failed. And then I have two phones. The first phone, even that internet data hotspot wasn't working. And so I got into this mode. I'm like, Krishna, please help. If you so desire, please allow me to do this service. Uh, I have no other option. So I used my second phone and then I connected and it worked. I hope you guys are all able to hear me okay. So the surrender mode is a beautiful process of bhakti. It's an integral process of bhakti where we surrender, we ask for grace, we pray, and our faith in Krishna grows. This is an actual article on Huffington Post on me and my co-founder as we were building our startup right out of college when everybody else was shutting down the startup and getting a job. We would not listen. We just kept on going and going, and we raised funds in the middle of a recession, and we built our business and built $1 million companies. So that's what life looks like. Nothing, 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 nothing. You go up, right? This is the compounding, this is mathematics. This is the compounding principle. This is how it goes. A lot of failures. You keep going, you keep going, you keep going with determination, with patience, with enthusiasm, and you see success. You see God face to face. You see success in all aspects of your life. That's how it works. Bhakti works. And the same principles can be applied to life, parenting, and all things that we know. Bhakti teaches us how to stay detached from the idea of I and mine and stay accountable to the real owner of our wealth. One of the names of Krishna is Lakshmipati, or the husband of the goddess of fortune. He's the real owner. Everything belongs to him. We are custodians of his wealth. So when we move from the idea of I and mine, and we become accountable that this money is not mine, it belongs to God. He's given me for a temporary period of time. Let me use it wisely for his service, for the service of his created beings, and be accountable to the owner of the money. My dear Krishna, this is your money, and I'm using it with your permission for your purpose, for your children. We have a wonderful devotee who started the Artha Forum, which is a lot of these devotees come together and they consider Krishna as their business partner, and they give a certain percentage of their profits or revenue, I believe, to Krishna conscious purposes. As I was hearing this, I was thinking, because in my office, there's a beautiful picture of Radha Madhava, Krishna, and Radha Rani. And I looked at him and I said, "You want to be my business partner?" And I was like, "No, that's arrogance. Uh, I don't think I'm there yet to be your business partner. You know what? You be the owner of the business. I'll just be your employee. I'll serve under you. And hopefully you'll give me the right intelligence. You'll guide me from time to time. And if you have to, correct me so that I can do the right things with your business, with your wealth for your purpose." And there is such a sense of relief when you have that shelter over your head, right? And I learned this from the Artha Forum that they're doing it in their way. And my thing is, I'd rather be an employee of the Supreme Lord, a servant of the Supreme Lord, and be sheltered by him, be empowered by him, and do whatever little bit I can for the community, for my employees, for my customers, my stakeholders, etc. So I'll encourage you to ask questions if you so desire. Only you get answers only when you ask. My gratitude to Srila Prabhupada, founder of ISKCON, and my gratitude to the organizers of this wonderful conference. I'm Avelo Roy. I can be easily found anywhere on the internet because I'm the only person with that name. So you can Google me, YouTube me, Instagram me, and find me and connect with me. I'll be happy to serve you in any way I can within my limited capacity. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Oh my goodness, beautiful. Thank you so much, Avelo Roy. We're sending our love and gratitude over to you. Such a powerful presentation. I think I might have taken more notes than any other presentation though so far. So much wisdom. And I really love how you put that together. And I think back, I did an MBA like 20 years ago, and I wish this was taught in business school. Like this mindset is just not there, unfortunately. So I think it's so refreshing to know that you and others are propagating this message from the right place, the right foundation. So, so appreciative of that. And just the way that you reframe our perspective on money and Lakshmi and how, I don't want to go repeating everything you just said, but I loved it. I do want to be respectful of time. We actually do have another call that starts on the next hour here. But I'm just going to address one question that came in the chat. A beautiful soul named Oscar had wrote, and this is a little bit tangential to what you just taught on, but because you've been in the Bhakti path for 20 years, I bet you'd have something to share on this. So Oscar's saying, very sincere, I'm new to Bhakti Yoga, somehow came across this type of yoga a week or so ago. I searched about it on Instagram and came across this conference, decided to sign up. I come from a Christian background, but wouldn't consider myself a strict Christian. Where does religion fall with Bhakti Yoga? And also, where does someone with this that's completely new start with in their journey? And there's some other chat about, he's in Canada, and I'll just say, Oscar, let's stay connected. I know some people in your area, but Prabhu, because I think this is Oscar so genuinely expresses where I think many of our seekers come from. How might you respond to that?
So religion is a word that in Sanskrit, the loose translation is dharma, or rather, religion is a loose translation of dharma. Dharma means the nature of the soul, the intrinsic nature of the soul. And the nature of the soul is to love and be loved. So, and loving God and being loved by God is so nourishing that when we feel that nourishment, we want to love all beings created by God. That is dharma. Religion is a set of rules that help us get to that point, they get to that realization. And there are different religions in this world made by great saints and prophets. But the purpose of religion, all religion, leads to that one idea of loving God. And that's how Bhakti yogis understand it, is the processes, the rules and regulations that are there, the literatures that are there, all lead to one single point. Do I have love for God or not? If we come to that, we are all together, we are all united. I don't know if that answers the question.
It does. It does. It's beautiful. And that is something I love about this path and this tradition. It's very inclusive. It's for all walks of life. It's for all of us. And I appreciate that you presence that. There's so much that I would want to ask and reflect, but I want to be mindful of time, integrity on your time. But please, friends, stay in touch. Start following on Instagram, on Facebook. Check out the TED Talks. Find out what's happening at Kolkata Ventures over in India. And I know this, as an entrepreneur myself, that you've given me so many ideas and things to think about. And I know I see other entrepreneurs on the call as well that I no doubt are also inspired and lit up. So thank you so much, Prabhu. We're sending our love and gratitude to you over in Mother India. And maybe what would you leave us with in this parting moment? What would thinking we're these spiritual seekers, we're newer to Bhakti, we're inspired now, just something we can take into the rest of the day and the rest of the path going forward?
The Vedas end with something called Vedanta, or the end of the Vedas. And it says, Athatu Brahma Jigyasa. Now that you're in the human form of life, ask questions. And only when you ask questions, you receive answers. You ask questions to God, somehow or other, He'll find someone to answer those questions for you if you listen carefully. So the The moment we become from a social animal to a human, it's the moment we ask questions. So please ask questions, ask hard questions, think about it, seek the answers, find the right mentor, the right teacher. And I highly recommend the Bhagavad Gita. And I hope your journey of fulfilling those answers would be nourishing, and you can have others also do the same as you go through this path. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Beautiful. Outstanding. Well, thank you so much, Prabhu. So grateful for you. And friends, wishing you an amazing rest of the day. The grand finale is next week with Radhanath Swami and our revered Harvard professor. Until then, but thank you, Avelo Roy. And thank you all for being here. We'll see you soon. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Namaste.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.